It is so good to be out of the house. Wow. All right, I'm David Gunkel, and I have the job of saving the world from robots. I study the science and the ethics of artificial intelligence, and I have good news and I have bad news. So the good news, that robot uprising that you heard so much about in science fiction, it's not going to happen. The bad news, it's already here. We are living through a kind of robot invasion. The machines have infiltrated every aspect of our lives. They dictate which movie we watch, which restaurant we go to, how we get there, and even who we do that with. Although, let's be honest, we've all been making pretty poor decisions about that last bit well before the robots. This invasion is not some future possibility. It is here, it is now, and resistance is futile. What makes these machines and devices so capable and powerful is something we call machine learning. Machine learning works by showing a computer a bunch of information. The computer looks for statistical patterns in that data set and then finds interesting and new connections between things that we can't even comprehend or think about. It can then use that to set up its system and make predictions about new things in the future. This is how the Netflix algorithm learns that if you watched Nicolas Cage in Con Air, you're probably willing to watch him in National Treasure. And that does say something about you as a person. As these increasingly capable machines come to take up influential roles in our lives, we are going to have to ask ourselves some interesting but some difficult questions. Questions like, when will it make sense for a robot, an algorithm, or an AI to be held accountable for the decisions it makes or the actions it initiates? When can we point the finger at the machine and say, it's the robot's fault? When can I blame the Netflix algorithm for the 2 hours I wasted watching Cats? Now, as an AI ethicist, these are the kinds of questions that keep me up at night. Well, the questions and then the 2 hours of doom scrolling that I'm required to do on Twitter. And initially, this kind of question might sound kind of absurd, kind of like blaming the toaster for burning the toast. And that's because a technological object means nothing and does nothing by itself. It is how it is designed and used that ultimately matters. Philosophers like myself have a fancy name for this. We call it the instrumental theory of technology. But I prefer to call it the your burnt toast is your own damn fault theory. This way of thinking has helped us make sense of all kinds of technological innovation, from simple hand tools to atomic bombs, rocket ships, and that dusty old Commodore 64 that is still in your basement. But all of that may be over. And it may be over because recent innovations no longer play by the rules of the instrumental theory. With machine learning, we have AI that can now do things that exceed the capacity and the control of its developers. This is a paradigm shift, at least as big as the invention of toast. Consider, for example, Microsoft's Twitter bot, Tay, which was designed to emulate the social media behaviors of a teenager. I know, what were they thinking? Like we need another TikTok dance challenge. Tay was a machine learning algorithm that was built to use some form of unsupervised and reinforcement learning, which is just a complicated way of saying that the bot was not programmed. It was set up, trained on some data, and then let loose in the world like a toddler on a gummy bear rampage in the Macy's. After only 8 hours of interacting with users online, Tay became a raving neo-Nazi racist, tweeting out material that would embarrass the most racist of racist uncles. So the question is, who is responsible when this happens? Who's accountable when your friendly little chatbot Tay morphs into Alex Jones? Now, according to the instrumentalist way of thinking, we would have to blame the programmers who set up the bot to be able to do these things. But obviously the programmers didn't set out to design a racist Twitter bot. At least I hope not. Although things may be different with Zuckerberg and his people. The bot, sorry Mark. And we're on a first-term basis, you know. The bot developed this reprehensible behavior from interacting with users on the internet, which should surprise absolutely no one who's ever actually used Facebook. So, how did Microsoft explain this? Well, they blame the victim. According to Microsoft, it was not the fault of the programmers or the corporation. It was the fault of users who taught the bot to be a bigot. Tase racism, in other words, it's our fault. So where does this leave us? The robot invasion is here. On Twitter, on TikTok, in the grocery store, and yes, even in your kitchen appliances. And because there's no escaping it, what really matters is what we decide to do in the face of this new reality. What makes a difference is what we do here and now to respond to the opportunities and the challenges presented to us by these new, capable, interactive machines. And because our instrumental theory is kind of broken, like your Commodore 64, this is going to require a wholesale reconfiguration in the way we think about these things. Now I know, that probably leaves you with more questions than answers, and this is why everyone hates philosophers. This is what we do. We take a perfectly functioning coping mechanism and we break it. But doing so is important because there's not only true and false solutions, there's also wrong questions. My job is to help us figure out what it is we should be asking, why it should worry us, and what we can do to begin to arrange a response to these challenges. It is by getting this right from the very beginning, that we stand a chance of surviving this robot invasion. Although I'm sorry to say, it's probably too late for any of us to do anything about Twitter. Thank you.